Hello there, my name's Cooper LaValle. I am a touring musician from Ogden, Utah, and I am releasing an album called Utah Blues. If you're interested, please send me your email. I'll put you on the mailing list. This is the mailing list. It doesn't exist yet. I'll just put your email on there, and then I'll send you an email blast when the music is out of a free download for the album, which you can download onto your phone, and then you can use your regular streaming service, I think most of the time, to listen to those downloaded files, but you will get to own them in case these services don't have them. That being said, I'm gonna try to use a good distributor, so we'll see. The video I am making today is a cry for help from all of the venues that I work for, and also for my musician friends who feel underrepresented. I hope that this maybe resonates for you. I want to talk about online booking and why I think that it is bad for the business. So I'm probably sending this to the venues that use this, by the way. So if you are a venue that uses this, please know that I'm not trying to throw you under the bus. I'm not trying to say anything bad about your business, but please know that other musicians may have more angry responses than me to this. So I'll tell you a story about a venue that I played at recently. They sent out an email saying, hey there, we are going to be sending our Google Form sign-up sheet for February's dates for to the entire roster of musicians, and you guys can, it's first come, first serve. You guys can pick your dates, which seems pretty fair, right? And it seems very easy, and it bypasses a lot of the work that goes into the booking, so it's pretty nice, right? And then the email with the link to the Google form didn't go out at 5:30 on Saturday. So then they had to send another email and saying, sorry guys, the email didn't go out. Here is the updated time of release, and it didn't come out again at that time. And then the Google form finally got sent out, and I'll tell you when it got sent out. It was when I was playing a show for that venue. What a funny coincidence, right? The problem with that is that the 30 minutes between when I got the email and the end of my set was enough time for all of those dates in February to book up. So that was rough. So I lost some money in February that I would have maybe otherwise had, to potentially, most likely, somebody who already works a job or is retired from working and does not need that money as much. So that sucks. I gotta look somewhere else. It's okay. It's the way it goes. But I noticed that this booking strategy actually garnered a very angry reaction out of another musician that said, please take me off of your roster because this is promoting hustle culture. Now, this video isn't about hustle culture, but I do agree with that person. That person is very lucky to be able to stand up for themselves, because I can't stand up for myself. Otherwise, I risk losing that paycheck for that month, and I need that paycheck, dude. I need to live. I do. I simply do. So that person is lucky to be able to stand up for themselves, but I agree with them. But I don't think hustle culture is actually the thing that's going to sell venues on switching away from this strategy, because, well, the venue that sent out the Google form, the people that book for that venue are also servers at that venue, and they work like fucking dogs at this venue. I swear to God, they run around. I'm right by, my stage is right by where the servers come out, and I just hear corner, 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 literally like 20 times a song. And every time they're coming out serving like 50 plates of food, right? It's insane. So these are the people that are booking. So it makes sense why they would use a Google form, because they don't have fucking time to communicate with all these people. But I don't think that the venue that works their servers like dogs and makes their servers also be the booking agent, I don't think that hustle culture is going to convince that venue to stop doing that. It's not. If I'm that person, I like hustle culture that owns that. If I'm the person that owns that business, I like hustle culture because look at all these people hustling, making me money, right? So, I don't think that's the strongest argument. So I have a lot of arguments for why I think that first come, first serve, especially, is the worst, but online booking is pretty close to being the worst thing ever. And I think it's bad for businesses and for musicians. So on the business side, if this is a strategy that you're using, you look lazy. You look lazy. I hate to say it, but you look lazy, because every other venue I work with, and if you can see some of the dots back there, it's a lot. I work with over 300 venues. Only 3 of you use an online booking service. It makes you look lazy. Which I think will turn off musicians that are choosy and have, they either have the chops to be good enough to play a lot of shows, or they're just lucky enough to play a lot of shows and they get to be choosy. I think I fall into that lucky camp. So you're going to alienate those musicians, which tend to be better musicians. Second of all, and this one really applies to, I don't know if this one applies to the third venue that's using an online booking strategy, but 2 of the venues I know are first come, first serve. And so the problem with that is if fucking so-and-so, if Cooper LaValle, like booked a date and then he can't come because he got, his dog ate his homework, he got sick, he's gonna need a backup, and you need to know who the backup is gonna be. And you don't know who the backup is that's available. You have to ask your entire roster because you don't know who's available that one day. If it's a first come, first served, like I snag up a Friday night and nobody else can say that they're available on a Friday night, you're screwed. You know what I mean? You don't know, right? So that's a little scary, which could result in not having music that night, which could have been avoided, right? Another thing about online booking that I think is a con, and this is more on the musician side, it creates more friction to book with your venue, which again, those musicians that are lucky enough to play a lot of shows and be choosy about it, they're going to choose to work with the 297 other venues that don't use that online service because they just use phone or email or text, and it's just easy. Like, my thought process is like, I don't want to learn another software. I just want to text somebody and get the show booked, and that's it. You know what I mean? So the friction will also make it so that really only the most desperate musicians are going to play at your venue, which you probably don't want, like, the desperate ones. You know what I mean? I'm reading this thing on my screen here. I wrote, yeah, it does promote the hustle culture. We already talked about that. A big point, which has pros and cons that sprout from it, a big point is that the quality of, and I've been alluding to this a lot, the quality of your musicians is going to diminish if you use these methods, because here's what happened to me is I was playing at your venue when you sent your booking link for the next month. So I was good enough to be busy that night, busy enough to not respond to your email, and therefore good enough to not play at your venue, and you alienated me from your venue for that month. You know what I mean? Like, it's, world's smallest violin, whatever. But the quality of your musicians is going to go down as the only ones available to fill out the booking link or wait and set a reminder for your booking link, which I'm not going to fucking do. Those people, the more available ones that tend to be kind of worse, are going to be the ones representing your bar. Is that what you really want? That being said, it might be what you want. So, diminished quality of music can be good for a variety of reasons. First of all, you get beginners, so it's a lower barrier of entry for musicians to get into gigging, which is incredible. One of these venues that I work for is one of the only all ages opportunities for musicians who are under the age of 21 to play in my state. And my state is the least liquored up state in the world. You can get a lot of green beginner musicians, which could be good because you're saturating the market with more musicians, and helping those musicians build up their resumes and cut their teeth. It can also help promote a non-judgmental environment if your musician if your musician quality tends to be a little bit lower. You might have kinder, nicer people in your bar, however, or grill, or whatever your venue is, right? So the judgment-free zone thing, like Planet Fitness says, like that's kind of like a good thing, right? But I don't think it's what the venues that are using this software are going for, because they are like a little bit classier. I dress a little bit nicer than this when I go play at those venues. And I try not to swear over the microphone, right? Another thing about that is, again, the lower barrier of entry means you could get a future superstar who's just starting out in your venue, and that could be a huge asset to you. So, what else? Another thing about the diminished quality of music is if the barrier of entry is lower, you have more green musicians, therefore you can pay less, which means if you keep the same amount of shows but pay less, you'll save money. Or you can take the amount that you're spending on the shows on these days and you can spread it out over these days, and you can get 7 days of music a week, which in a lot of these states that I'm playing in, there's not a lot of 7 days a week towns. The state that I live in is not a 7 day a week state as far as music. You have to be, I mean, I don't know anybody who works that much here. And I know people who work that much elsewhere in larger places, so whatever. But that aside, those are the pros of having diminished quality of music. However, having diminished quality of music is in itself kind of a con. You will have disgruntled customers leaving shitty reviews on your business, and you'll have disgruntled staff that are like complaining to you about like, I don't want to listen to this guy, right? So, and one other pro of having diminished quality of music is that you can filter out snobby musicians with big egos, because snobby musicians with big egos won't play at your place if you have a reputation for having bad music. So that could be good. You could filter out snobs, but you could also filter out like really good, non-snobby, really good musicians, right? So there's that. Now, another thing about this is these businesses tend to send out the available dates in a blast, right? And I'd love to be able to say that it's about the timing. You have to master the timing in order to please everybody, but it does not matter the timing. You are going to piss somebody off because somebody's going to be working, somebody's going to be gigging, somebody's going to be recording, somebody's going to be rehearsing, somebody's going to be writing, somebody's going to be sleeping, because we do sleep. Us musicians do sleep as well. So, and I sleep pretty weird hours. I'll tell you that. and pretty inconsistent, so nobody is available at all times for you at your beck and call. It just doesn't work like that. So the people that are available will be, but that's, again, what's going to diminish your sort of the quality. So another few issues that I'll go through as quick as I can is this method of booking doesn't allow musicians to pick the optimal date for them, nor present you with multiple options, which leads to disgruntled musicians. It doesn't allow you to really carefully consider like who's playing and representing your place. You're kind of just leaving it up to them, and there's only one place I know of that actually has like auditioned, and I know a lot of these places that will book people just because they hear that they're a musician rather than hearing their music. So you can't curate as much. It doesn't really allow you to consider the musicians who haven't been back in a while. You might only get the people who book out at your place, and that's it, you know. Which again might be a factor that you're going for. You might be wanting to narrow your market of musicians so the competition isn't as much. But again, I think that this ultimately, personally, I think this is detrimental for your business. Because any artist who books out more than a month, which is most of us, even the mediocre ones, aren't going to be able to play if you do things this way. So that's a lot of my thoughts on the matter. If you watched this far, thank you for listening to me. You probably already know me, but if you don't know who I am, once again, my name's Cooper LaValle. I play 150 or more free shows every single year across all of those states up there. I've done 125,000 miles of touring in the last 2 years. I work with hundreds of businesses, all different kinds of businesses. I've had monthly, bi-monthly, and quarterly residencies throughout the last 2 years, and continue to hold some, and continue to also work with those other ones that I'm no longer in residency at. Somewhere in the ballpark of 90% of venues rebook me. So I hope that context about me maybe gives you the sense that I might be qualified to talk about this, but yeah, I think that's kind of it. And as an alternative to this is the solution part. As an alternative to this, I'm going to do something here. Okay, so first of all, here's what you should do. Use email. That is the most professional looking thing. Anything else looks kind of shitty, but phone and text are fine. But I usually prefer email at least first, because I don't answer phone calls and texts that I don't know. I mean, I'll respond to texts if it's from somebody, if it makes sense, you know, but most of the time it's spam. So use those, and here's the thing. I want to be more specific about how you should kind of consider booking your musicians, which is you need to consider two things, and we're going to put them on a graph here, okay? So we've got, I might have to flip this video. I don't know if it'll really matter, but we'll say along here, we're going to say that's how long it's been since the person's played. So this is, they played last night. This is, they played like 12 months ago. And then this scale will be, how much do you like the musician? Are they shitty or are they really good? So if somebody is really good, I'm going to put a smiley face and a frowny face, and then I'm going to put 1 to 12. So I've got a smiley face for they're really good and frowny face for they're really bad, and then I got 1 to 12 months, right? So someone who's really crappy and played 12 months ago in this system right now as it is, like this person here who's really crappy that played 12 months ago is going to be kind of equal consideration as the person who's really good that played last night. And that person is going to be considered the same as the person right in the middle of this graph, which is somebody who played 6 months ago who's all right. Now, there's a problem here. I think we need to put weight to this. If the musician is good and they were here 6 months ago, they're there, they should have a little bit more points in their favor as to booking you, and you could weight it so that each month is a point, and then each one of these like is kind of, you're striving for staying up in this. You want the people that make you happy, not the people that make you feel crappy. Does that make sense? Does this make sense? Because this is kind of how I think, this is how I think you do fairness. You do fairness with a whiteboard with magnets, with people's names on the magnets, and you put them where they go, and you keep track of them, because you're gonna get somebody who's really good that actually wants to come back to your venue that you've been neglecting booking in favor of somebody who's not as good. So consider using this little graph, maybe doing some tweaks or whatever, but that could be a good thing to help provide fairness without using first come, first serve, fire sale sort of tactics that actually piss off most musicians and feel very unfair. This is a really long video. Thanks for watching the whole thing. My name's Cooper LaValle. Follow, like, subscribe. Send me your email if you want to listen to the album. Otherwise, I'll see you later.